you can throw your questions in that chat box, or you can unmute yourself. You can raise your hand. You can interrupt me, whatever works. Easy to go. We are talking today about lead generation, the keys to success. In case you go through this lesson with me today and you're like, man, Amy, this is fabulous, but can you give me some more like hands-on nitty gritty? What do I do for different lead generation methods? We are actually covering that this quarter at 7 p.m. on Wednesday nights. So we are digging into specific lead generation methods every Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. This week, we are talking about social media. So if you want to dig in a little deeper to social media lead gen, we will be there tomorrow night at 7. Tomorrow during the morning class, 11 o'clock, we have Boomer Donnell from, I'm probably saying his last name wrong. I think I'm putting the accent in the wrong spot, but that's right. He's from Edward Jones Investments. He's going to be talking about setting yourself up for financial success in your future, talking about retirement and some other things to just really get your mind thinking about things that we don't happen automatically as realtors. We have to be conscious and make decisions. So that's what he'll be talking about tomorrow. But let's dig into lead generation, the key to success, finding motivated clients. Our learning objectives today, we're going to talk about the lead generation model. We are going to talk about the philosophy of lead generation, different types of lead generation, and then creating that follow-up plan for when you have leads coming in. Your lead generation model, right? We call it a lead gen funnel oftentimes because see, it looks like a funnel. And how it works is we're going to put people on the top. Those are our leads. The goal is that we're going to have the most number of potential leads out there, people that may at some point in their lifetime want to buy or sell houses. Okay. Buy or sell houses, leads, somebody in their lifetime is a lead. We want to turn those into prospects. Those are the people that are actually probably going to transact. Like a prospect is, man, this person's probably going to buy or sell a house. I would look at it like in the next 12 months. Okay, that pool is going to be more narrow. That's why we're funneling down. There's going to be less prospects than leads in your, I would like to say that you're going to put them in your CRM, your contact relationship manager, or your database. We're going to take those prospects, we're going to turn them into clients, right? So those clients, it gets even narrower with the number of people that are actually going to transact with us, right? Have transacted with us. And then we go into the post-sale process after they've closed on either a purchase or a sale. And then what happens is they actually pour out the bottom of that lead gen funnel, and then they take the elevator back to the top and they go back into that prospect or that lead. We're going to treat them. We're going to connect with them. We're going to continue to interact with them and then move them back through that process for their next purchase or sell. The bonus thing too, right, is like we get people and you're like, oh man, they said that's going to be their forever home. They're going to live there forever. They're never going to transact with me again. That's not true. We throw them back in the top because number one, statistics say that even when they say it's going to be their forever home, people still move every 5 to 7 years. I mean, look at me. We said, we moved every 2 to 3 years for the last 12 years now. I can't tell you how many houses we've lived in the last 12 years. You'd think we were a military family, but no, that's not the case. Right. And then once they are in their forever home and maybe they really truly aren't planning to move, then we can start dripping on them and talking about investment properties and building an investment portfolio. So there's always a potential there, as well as, remember last week, if you were on our Wednesday call, I believe it was our Wednesday call, we talked about referrals from clients, building that referral database. So even those people that aren't going to transact this year or the next year, we can become the realtor of choice for them to refer all their friends and family to. So this lead gen model, this lead funnel is pertinent to every single person in your database. Any questions about the lead gen funnel? All right. The philosophy of lead gen. There are things that we must do as part of our lead generation. Number one is we need to continually feed our database. If you were on the database class, we talked about the ratio of people in your database to close transactions. Statistics say it's going to be somewhere between a 10-to-1 to 12-to-1 ratio. So for we'll say every 12 contacts in your database that you're interacting with on a regular basis, that's going to lead to one transaction for every 12 people that are in there. It could be one of those 12 people doing a transaction. It could be them referring you to somebody else inside their circle of influence. So we constantly need to be feeding that database. In addition to that, I always recommend that you have 5 legs of lead generation. We're going to dive into these a little bit more here in a minute, so we'll go back into that. And then we want to move them from captured to connected. And right, so captured are those people that we've got their information. They came to our open house, whatever it is, we've got them, but they don't know who we are. And we want to move those people to a point where they recognize us and they know who we are. And then we're just going to repeat that process over and over and over again, continually feed the database, perfect our 5 legs of lead generation, move those people from captured to connected. And then what the next step is there is connected to transaction, right? So, so we're going to do that and just keep repeating it. Feed the beast, right? Feeding that database, continually bringing leads in. Number 1, time block your calendar for lead generation time. Okay. I highly recommend either at the end of each week or the very beginning, the first thing you do each Monday morning is you open up your computer, you open up your calendar, wherever your calendar is. If you have paper calendar or digital calendar, you open it up and you review your calendar for the week, and that you make sure the important appointments and details are on there. One of those main ones is lead generation time. And if you're thinking to yourself right now, like, oh, what's the best time for lead gen time? Well, it's generally 9 o'clock in the morning. Okay. And if you're like, Amy, why are you saying 9 o'clock? All my people work. I know, but see, the thing is that if we don't pick up the phone or we don't go start the door knocking at 9 a.m., then by 2 o'clock in the afternoon, when we plan to do it, everything's going to happen and your clients are going to start calling you and transactions are going to start falling apart and your friend's going to ask you to go to lunch and you're never going to get around to it. And that lead gen time that was supposed to happen now didn't happen. So that's why we recommend doing it in the morning. It's just the simple thing of the best time to do lead gen is when you're actually going to do it. Okay, so there's no wrong or right answer, but we do recommend doing it in the morning. Protect that lead generation time. That is your sacred time to grow your business. Without continually feeding our database, what happens is we get a couple transactions here and there. We get busy with those transactions. We stop adding people to our database. We stop working it. And then lo and behold, our transactions end. And then you're like, oh man, I don't have anything in the pipeline. I'm really nervous now. What am I going to do? I don't have a check at least for another 60 days because I don't even have anything in contract yet. We want you to have that consistent flow of business. And the way to do that is to make sure that you have that lead gen time and that you treat that time almost as like sacred time. Okay. During that time, you're going to turn off your notifications. You're going to eliminate distractions, close your office door, put a sign on it, like don't interrupt until 11 o'clock or whatever time you're supposed to be done, and spend that time generating leads. Okay, the goal there is you want to be adding 3 to 10 people to your database every day. Okay, that's 15 to 50 people per week. Okay, and if you're like, Amy, that's a big span, 3 to 10 people. How do I know which is right? There's no wrong or right answer. Start with 3. Get consistent adding 3 people to your database per day, right? Generating 3 leads per day. Go talk to people at Home Depot, talk to people at the grocery store, go door knock your farm, actually have conversations with them, right? Go sit at the park and have conversations with other parents, go to your kids' baseball games, go to the community mixer, whatever it is. But the goal is 3 to 10 people. Start with 3. Once you're consistently adding 3 for 2 or 3 weeks, then be like, man, this week I'm going to add 4. I'm going to bump it to from 15 to 20 people to my database this week, right? And then do that for a month or 2 and then bump it up, right? The faster we add people to the database, the more our people, our transactions will grow and our business will grow. But we also don't want to feel overwhelmed. And if you're looking at that number, about 10 people to my database every day, oh my gosh, that's overwhelming. Then don't start there. Start with 3. Okay. We don't want you to be overwhelmed. A solid contact should have a name, an email, and a phone number. Okay. Bonus would be a address, right? Where you can mail stuff, and a birthday. Okay. If we have an address, an email, a phone number, a name, and a birthday, we can complete our, what we call our 19 to connect with that person in the database, and we can execute it flawlessly. Okay. Any questions about feeding the beast? All right. 5 legs of lead generation. Okay. We should have 5 legs. We call them legs. It's methods, right? 5 different ways that we're going to generate leads for our database. Okay. Number 1 should always be your existing database. We should be digging into our database with what we call a 36 to connect. No, a 36 to convert. Sorry, because we're working to convert them from prospects to clients. So 36 to convert. We should be working that in our database, making those phone calls and asking for referrals, right? Oftentimes we don't get referrals because we fail to ask for them. Okay. And to me, it's easier to ask for referrals than it is to ask somebody to sell or buy a house. So make sure you're asking for those referrals. Ultimately, you want to be asking for both, right? Who do you know that's looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate every time we have a conversation with someone? The second way that we should be generating leads is we should be generating leads anytime we have a listing. We should be getting that out there on social media. We should have a sign in the yard. We're hosting open houses at that listing. We are knocking on neighbors' doors. Our goal is to generate leads from those listings, and then we can choose 3 additional lead gen methods of your choice. It could be open houses, it could be a farm, it could be social media, it could be business to business, it could be door knocking, it could be, I mean, it could be events. There's an endless supply of potential ways to generate leads for real estate. Okay, we just need to make sure we're actually connecting with people. You could connect with notice of default. You could connect with FSBOs, right? For sale by owners, expireds. I mean, the list never ends. So that's the goal there. Okay. Some different ways, right? I just listed off a whole bunch of those: social medias, expireds, FSBOs, YouTube, right? You could have a YouTube channel, events, open houses, business to business, direct mail, referrals, networking groups, community groups, farm, marketing, investors, cold calling. Be really careful with cold calling. Make sure you're TCPA compliant, right? You're adhering to the rules and laws when it comes to cold calling. Sponsorship, right? Schools, sports teams. You could buy leads from third-party vendors or join the Zillow team. You could advertise park benches, bus stops, grocery carts, webinars, seminars, right? First-time home buyers, move up, downsizing, investors, attorney connections like probate, divorce, bankruptcy, builder connections, bank referrals, door-to-door ads, booth at events, teaching and speaking. There's just so many ways that you can generate leads. Okay. Now, when we do this, I'm going to encourage you. Number 1, if you're not in your database, spend the next 12 weeks getting your database in order and just being consistent in working that database. Okay, making those phone calls, interacting with your database, because your database really truly is your gold mine. We talked about it, I think, last week on Wednesday, of how the majority of your business is probably going to come from your database. It's the easiest way to generate business. And if you're like, but Amy, I've got 3 people in my family that are all realtors. Well, that's good. Those 3 people in your family that are realtors, they're probably not calling your other family members, right? They're probably not trying to earn that job as their real estate agent. So do that. Okay. We're going to create systems and processes around, first, our database, secondly, leads from listings, and then we're going to start working on those other 3 lead gen sources. We're going to perfect lead gen number 3 source before we move on to number 4 and number 5. Okay, our goal with being consistent. So if I'm doing database and I've been consistently working my database, I've got that down, I'm going to continue to do that. I've got my systems and processes in place to generate leads from listings. And then I'm like, open houses are my next like prime lead gen source. Then I'm going to start developing those systems and processes around those open houses. That doesn't mean that while I was perfecting my database or my leads from listings, I wasn't hosting open houses, but now I'm really going to focus in on that. I've got this well-oiled machine happening with those other 2 methods. Now I'm going to dig in and create those systems and processes around open houses, be consistent in it. Once I've done that, then I'm going to earn the right to move on to lead gen method number 4 and number 5. Okay. If you're like, well, mine's open houses, farms, and business to business, it doesn't mean that we're not like dripping in our farm and having those interactions with our farm. We just may not be with our full might into the farm until we perfect those other ones. Okay. So don't overwhelm yourself by trying to perfect 5 different methods of lead gen all at the same time. I do recommend where it says create systems and processes, that we actually put those systems and processes in writing, okay, that we're specific with them and that we know exactly what that step looks like. So if I'm creating a system and process around an open house, it might be my first system and process might be pinpoint on my calendar open houses for the next 30 days. When am I going to host them? What days, what times, right? So that I've time blocked that time on my calendar. Then it might be every Monday before the open house, choose the house that I'm going to hold open, identify the open house. And then Tuesday might be, here's what I do to prepare for the open house. Wednesday might be door knocking for the open house. Thursday might be, right? So we're going to write down the systems and processes. We're going to be specific in what we do leading up to the open house. And we're going to have systems and processes and be specific and have them in writing for what we do after the open house. What does our follow-up plan look like for those that came through? Okay. Any questions about that? All right. The next thing, right? We talked about moving them from captured to connected. So we want to have systematic connections to move our people through our lead generation funnel. And most of our leads, when we throw them into our database, oftentimes they're what we call captured. Okay, we have their contact information. We may have had one conversation with them, but we're not sure they're really going to respond to us when we call or text or send them an email. Okay, right? Our open house leads, like, oh, we had a great conversation. Now we need to get them to respond to us outside of the open house. So what I highly recommend is that we put them on what's called a 5x5 when they first get put into our database. That is, we're going to connect with them or attempt to connect with them once a day for the next week. Okay, some form of text, phone calls, a mixture of both. They may also get some bonus emails in there, but I would have 5 attempts at either phone calls or text messages that first week. Once they start responding to us, once we start having that conversation, we book the appointment, we're going to go show them houses. We're just having, they've decided they're going to wait a little bit longer. We're going to take them off that 5x5. We're going to move them to the next step. Okay. If they haven't responded to us that first week, we're going to roll them over to the 8x8. Okay. That's where we're going to still attempt to connect with them once a week for the next 8 weeks. So week 1 is every day. Weeks 2 through 9 is once a week, a mixture of phone calls and text messages. So they're going to get 8 phone calls or text messages for the next 8 weeks. They may also get some emails in there. Okay. And I highly recommend bonus touches with emails. If they start responding, then they get moved to our convert touch plan, right? Anytime somebody responds, we move them over to the convert from the connect. But if they still aren't responding after 9 weeks of trying to get in touch with them, we don't trash them and say, this isn't worth it anymore. Remember, what we learned is that some contacts take like 12 connections before they want to connect with us. And oftentimes people walk through an open house or they make a sign call. They've realized that now is not the time to buy. And they may be ready 3, 4, 5, 6 months down the road. And they're embarrassed to tell us that, right? So you may not hear from them. They may ghost us for a little while. We're not going to give up on them. Okay, so 5 contacts the first week, 1 contact a week for the next 8 weeks. So now we're at week 9. We're moving on to week 10. On week 10, if they haven't responded, we're going to move them over to what we call a 19 to connect. We're going to interact with them a minimum of 19 times forever per year. Okay, until they start responding to us, and then we're going to move them over to a 36. Kimberly, did you have a question? All right, we'll come back to Kimberly in a minute. Our goal here, Kim, when you're ready, you can unmute yourself and I'll watch your microphone. Our goal here is to get a response, right? And then as soon as we get a response, we roll them over to that 36 to convert. So 19 to connect is where they'll live until they start responding to us. All right, any questions? All right. Once we move them over, they start responding to us. Ed, did you have something?
I was just going to say that this is the cornerstone of your entire business. That this is something that if I was smart, I would have actually did this when I started, and I didn't. But what you're saying is
Right?
gold.
Gold. Get started right. You heard it from Ed first. All right. Once they start responding to us, we're moving them through the funnel and we're going to roll them over to our 36 plus to convert, which is a minimum of 36 interactions per year with the goal of creating transactions. Okay, goal to create transactions. Our 36 to convert, we talked about last week. So if you want to catch what that is, it's kind of like, so our 19 to connect, I'm not sure I've got it drawn out in this one, but your 19 to connect is going to be 12 emails per year. So they get 1 email per month. You're going to drip on them with like either it could be a property search, right? If they were a potential buyer, it could be a market update. If they own a home, right? You could plug them into Real Scout. We have access to that for free. You could zoom in on their neighborhood. They get a monthly neighborhood update. Something like that. It could be a newsletter, right? It depends what you want to do and how much effort you want to put into it, but 1 email per month from you. In addition, we're going to call them 4 times a year. So you're going to call them once a quarter. Okay, once a quarter to call. So now we're at 12, 16. That's 16. We only have 3 more. So oftentimes what I recommend is like send them out holiday cards, right? Get something in their mailbox. It could be, and again, you'll hear me say this over and over again. Not that I'm anti-Christmas, I'm just anti-Christmas card for business because everybody's getting Christmas cards and everybody's sending Christmas cards out. Send out your holiday cards at random holidays throughout the year. Happy Taco Tuesday, Happy Groundhog Day, Happy Veterans Day, Memorial Day, Labor Day. I don't know, pick random holidays and send out your holiday cards for those random holidays because you're going to stand out a little bit different. Okay. Our goal is to stand out. It's a goal to be different. And then I also recommend inviting them to an event, right? And it could be like, oh, I'm hosting National Night Out for my farm in the park. I'm going to invite my entire database to come join me. I'm going to host a food truck. We're doing the neighborhood garage sale and I'm going to invite everybody to come connect with me at the neighborhood garage sale. It doesn't have to be like a super special, super expensive event. It could just be like water balloon day at the park. Adriana's been doing like Easter egg hunts, different fun things like that. So just be creative and try to get them drawn in and coming to things. Okay. Or trying to get them to respond. So that would kind of be your 19 to connect. The basis for it though, is going to be those 12 emails. It's going to be those 4 phone calls, right? 4 phone calls, non-negotiable. Okay. There is no other connection that replaces those 4 phone calls. Then you're going to have 3 connections that you get to choose. It could be invite to an event. It could be a card to go out. It could be magnet, branded like annual magnet in their mailbox, something fun that you want to send them. Okay. It could be that like you're just going to send them a handwritten note a couple times a year. Okay. So make it something fun. Make it something that it's going to have a call to action on it. So they're going to want to respond. Okay, then we're going to move them to 36 to convert once they start responding. If they don't respond, they're just going to stay with those 19 connections forever. Okay, until they respond to us. Once they start responding, we move them over to the 36. We're going to interact with them more. The basis for the 36 is now they're going to get like 2 emails per month. One is going to be a newsletter and it can be in the mail or it can be an email. Okay, I actually would recommend that if you have the financial ability to do it, mailing them a newsletter or a postcard once a month and then sending them an email once a month is probably going to get a better response because a lot of people ignore their emails. So sending them 2 emails a month may not catch their attention. I would keep them on like a property drip or a neighborhood update in their inbox and then mail them something in a newsletter, a recipe of the month, something on a monthly basis. But if you don't have the financial ability, just start with emails. Get them 2 emails, one at the beginning of the month, one at the end of the month. Okay. We're still going to have those 4 phone calls on the 36 to convert. We're going to roll it into 4 things either in their mailbox, in addition in their mailbox or pop buys. That's 24 and 8. So we're close, and then usually 1 or 2 event invites, and then those cards. I usually recommend 2 holiday cards, a birthday card, and a home anniversary card. Okay, 36 plus to convert, a minimum of 36 connections. All right, any questions about those interaction plans? All right. We also need to have that follow-up plan solidified in our system. So we need to know that every time we add a lead to our database, that we need to put them on that follow-up plan so they don't get missed. Okay, the goal here is ultimately we would like to use our CRM to automate this process. So if we can use our contact relationship manager, our database, where we plug somebody in, we put them on a 5x5 that automatically then rolls to an 8x8 if they don't respond, that rolls to a 19 to connect, that alerts us when we need to call them every 3 months, right? It gives us a notification, a task due. That would be ideal if we can set that up so that each of our touches are automated, not to the point that it calls them for us, but that it's going to remind us to do those steps that need our interaction so that we don't forget to do it. Okay, and we don't miss them. Again, goal scalable business. We're adding 3 people to our database every day. That's 15 per week. If we don't have a follow-up system in place, we don't have a system that is tried and true that we're going to work, then what's going to happen is we're going to add people to our database, and then they're never going to hear from us again. Okay, and we don't want that to happen, because the only way we're going to gain their business is by continuing to work the plan. Okay. Oh, look, I do have it drawn out. So all new leads, right? 5x5. We talked about this earlier. Thought maybe I did, but I wasn't sure because I hadn't looked at the end of the slide deck. 5 attempts at connections over the first week. I have a variety of email, text, and calls. Again, I would make 5 text or calls with bonus emails. Every time we interact with them, we want a call to action on there. Hey, I set you up with a property search for, homes up to 600,000 in Vacaville. Let me know what changes you want me to make to that. Right? Respond. Hey, I saw this property and I thought it might match your criteria. Would you like to go look at it? Right? So find ways to try to get them to respond to us. Again, if no response during that first week, we're going to roll them over to that 8x8. And when and if they respond, then we're going to roll them over to that 36 to convert. Okay. For the 8x8, 8 attempts at connections over the next 8 weeks. Again, a variety of emails, texts, and calls. Again, it should be a text and call every week with bonus emails being dripped on them. It could be, too, that we have an email system set up in our CRM. Even RealSuite has the ability to set up like automated emails that go out if we add them to a plan. And you could have it set up that if they were a potential buyer lead, they get dripped on for the next 8 weeks of things they can do to prepare to buy a house, right? When to call the lender, how much money should you have saved, right? Think of all the things that come into play. What inspections might you need when buying a house? We can drip on them weekly with those emails, and then we can text and call to follow up and check in with them. Again, make sure every time we have a call to action, because we're trying to get them to respond. If there's no call to action, they're probably not going to respond. And if no response during those next 8 weeks, then we roll them over, like I said, to that 19 to connect. When and if they respond, then we move them to the 36 to convert. The difference, just so you guys know, the difference between a 19 and a 36 is we're going to spend less time, energy, and effort on somebody that in 9 weeks hasn't responded to us than somebody who is responding. So that's why when we have people that begin responding to us, we make sure they're on that 36 to convert, because we're going to spend more time, energy, and effort on those leads that are responding versus the ones that aren't. Okay. It's not that they're not important, but we're going to spend our time with those that are going to respond. Our 19 to connect, I just kind of covered this, 19 attempts at connection per year, at least 19, 4 phone calls, 1 per quarter, 12 emails, 1 per month, 1 event invite, and 2 mailings. Once they start responding, then we roll them to that 36 to convert. If they never respond, they stay on that 19 forever. Forever and ever. Okay, the 36 to convert is going to be 4 phone calls, 1 per quarter, 24 emails or 2 per month. And like I said, if you have the ability, I would do 1 email per month and 1 something in their inbox. 2 event invites. 4 mailed items are pop buys. A pop buy is where you drop it off on their doorstep. And then 2 cards. One could be a birthday, one could be a home anniversary. 2 of those mailed items could be holiday cards, right? So you can mix it up. You can be creative and have fun with it. Any questions about those interaction plans? All right. Phone calls. There's lots of options for your phone calls. You can follow what's called the DTD2 plan, which is do the database 2 schedule. It's where they pair up letters based on the frequency of the last name. So it averages out to the same number of people you're calling per week. It would be like week 1, we call everybody who last name starts with A and W, then B and E, then week 3 would be D and O, then H and V, then C and K, right? So we just repeat this each quarter. It's a strategic way to make sure we're interacting with everybody in our database. You could take your database, you could divide it by the number of people in the database, know that you've got about 13 weeks per quarter. You may even just want to account for 12 weeks per quarter, assuming that at some point you're going to drop the ball or that you're going to have vacation or whatnot. So we could take 12 weeks, the number of people in our database divided by 12, and then we're just going to start at the top and call through 27 people until we get to the end of the first 27. Then next week, we're going to start at 28 and call another 27, right? So there's no wrong or right way to do it. You could do the 5-5-5 where you interact with 5 people per day. Whatever works for you, just find a system and implement it and stick to it. The initial call might just be a check-in. Okay, it might just be like, hey, it's Amy. I just wanted to call and see how you were doing. We're going to touch on the family, occupation, recreation, dreams, that Ford sandwich. We're just going to have that conversation. If there's people in your database that you haven't touched base with or you've never talked to before, they answer the phone. It may just be like, hey, sorry it's taken me so long to get in contact with you. How is everything going? How's your work, right? Did you end up buying a house this past year? Oh, no, we ended up not doing that. Rates were so high. Oh, perfect, right? We can open those conversations up. We call it Ford sandwich because generally you start with the family, occupation, recreation, dreams. Then we talk about the meat of the business portion of it, right? Who do you know in your neighbors, at work, that you go to church with, that your kids play baseball with, that might be looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? Okay, it's a much more effective if you do a memory jogger with them like that, like, oh, who do you know at work or in your neighborhood, or do you have any family members looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? Because it gets them thinking about specific people rather than just asking them, who do they know that wants to buy, sell, or invest in real estate? It's too vague. People can't wrap their brains around it in the moment. And they'll always, generally speaking, they will usually come up with, oh, I can't think of anybody right now. But if you do a memory jogger, sometimes they come up with somebody. And then I also recommend doing a 3-attempt approach. Oh, here's the 5-5-5. It's a little bit more involved. It's a little bit more time consuming, but it makes connections faster. So if we're doing the 5-5-5, so you've got the DTD2 option, you could do a 5-5-5 where I contact 5 people today, right? And then I call them again tomorrow and I call them again the next day, right? The goal is that each week I'm calling 25 people. Month 1, everybody gets a phone call. Month 2, so next month, everybody who got a phone call this month is now getting a social media connection from me. I'm commenting on a post, I'm sending them a direct message, right? So month 1, they get a phone call. Month 2, social media interaction while I'm calling another 5 people per day. Month 2, a new set. And then month 3, they get a text or a card from me, right? Either a text message or a card in the mail. And then I repeat. And this sets you up that the people are getting a connection every month of the year from you, either a phone call, social media, or a text. Okay, that's the 5-5-5 plan. Here's that Ford sandwich that I was talking about. I recommend whatever you end up doing that we do a 3-attempt approach at making phone calls. I found this to be effective. Oftentimes, if I just take a snapshot of 50 people, I call through them once, I'm going to have maybe like a 10% answer rate. If I go to a 3-attempt approach, my answer rate goes up to like 75 to 80% for those same 50 people by the end of the week. Okay. So how this works is call one, maybe it's Monday. I'm doing my lead gen. I'm going to call and leave a message if they don't answer. I say, hey, it's Amy. Right, with Realty One Group. I was just wanting to check in with you. I'll try you later this week. Oftentimes I just say, hey, it's Amy. I was just wanting to check in with you. I'll try you later this week, right? Vague, to the point. Call number two happens another day. It might be Tuesday, it might be Wednesday, whatever day it is. Calling through all the people that didn't answer that first day. Number one, I've already primed them on the first call that I'm going to try them again later this week. So oftentimes, now they know I'm a real person, not like a robot. So when I call them the second time, oftentimes they will go ahead and answer. They recognize the phone number again. They go, this was that gal named Amy. I can't think of who she is, but she said she was going to try me later this week. I should probably answer, right? If they don't answer the second time, I send them a text message. Hi, I was just checking in. I hope you're having a great day. I'll try you again later this week, right? Again, setting them up, priming them that I'm going to call them again. Then I'm going to call them another day. It could be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are the 3 calls. It could be Monday, Tuesday, Friday. It could be Monday, Wednesday, Friday. There's no wrong or right answer to it. Just 3 different days, different phone calls. If they still don't answer on the 3rd attempt, I'm going to leave a voicemail. Hey, it's Amy. I'm sorry we weren't able to connect this week. I hope you're doing well. If you need anything real estate related or not, please don't hesitate to reach out. Have a great day. Right? I'm letting them off the hook. I'm done. I'm not going to call them again. I also at the same time will send them a text message. Hi, I hope you're having a great day. If you need anything real estate related or not, don't hesitate to reach out. We'll connect next time. Right? So super simple. Then I'm done with that group of phone calls. I move on to the next one the next week. Again, your answer rate's going to go up because you've proven to these people that number one, you're not a robot, and you've told them you're going to call them back. Any questions about that 3 attempt approach? All right, fabulous. That's what I've got for you today. That brings us to the end. Every day, make those 3 phone calls, add 3 people to your database, send out some note cards to everybody that you talk to and add to your database. And then just remember, create those systems and processes. If you want to know about specific types of lead gen, again, we're covering those on Wednesday nights at 7. If you're like, Amy, Wednesday nights at 7, I'm in bed. It's all right. It's recorded. You can catch the recording. We usually post those on the spreadsheet, or you can find them on my YouTube channel. But we are covering things like open houses, the farm, business to business, social media this week, right? So there's referrals. So we're touching on all these different types of lead generation on Wednesday nights. So if you want to dig into some options that may work for you in your business, that's a good time to tune in. If you don't see a method on there that you were thinking about doing and you want more information on it, let me know. We'll work it into our calendar. Any questions before we wrap up today? All right, fabulous. Thank you everyone for joining me today. I really appreciate it. We will see you tomorrow at 11. That one is either on Zoom or in the office with Boomer, again, talking about setting yourself up financially for your future, thinking about retirement and some other financial strategies for success. And then tomorrow night, lead gen with social media. You can log your attendance. The link is in the chat box. And if you think of any trainings that you'd like to see in the future, there's a place for that on the attendance form so that we can work it into our summer schedule. We'll see you all soon.